Where did you get that watch?
The interview had been routine until that moment. Mara Reed sat in the chairman's office explaining her grief counseling experience. Widow, school counselor, needed steady work. The Hawthorne Foundation seemed perfect. Then Charles Hawthorne looked down at her wrist. His face went white. The vintage watch her late husband Ben left her caught the afternoon light. Charles stood so fast his chair scraped the floor. He stared at the engraving on the watch face like he was seeing a ghost. A gray-haired woman in a dark suit appeared instantly. No knock. She whispered to Charles and turned cold eyes on Mara. Security escorted her to the parking lot within minutes. Through the lobby window, Mara saw Charles still frozen at his desk, staring at his own shaking hands. What did a dead man's watch have to do with a job interview? Before we begin, if you could tap subscribe and like, it would mean so much to me. And if you don't mind, please leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from. May health and happiness find their way to you right where you are. All right then, let's begin today's story. Chapter 2. The Tool Tin. Mara drove home in silence. Her hands gripped the wheel too tight. She kept replaying the moment. The way Charles Hawthorne looked at her wrist. The terror in his eyes. Not anger, not confusion, pure fear. At home she made tea she did not drink. She stared at the watch. The engraving was simple. Initials and a date. She had never thought to ask Ben where it came from. Ben died 6 months ago. Heart attack at the marina where he worked. The funeral was small. The bills were large. That is why she needed the foundation job. His tools were still in the garage. She had not touched them. Tonight, she walked out there and opened the red tin marked private. Inside was an envelope, a boatyard invoice, a motel card from Maine, and a letter in Ben's handwriting addressed to her. Mara sat on the concrete floor and read. Ben wrote that 18 months ago a young man paid cash for a midnight tow. No questions asked. The man used a fake name, but his panic was real. He kept looking over his shoulder. He said people were following him. He needed to disappear long enough to tell someone the truth. The young man pressed the watch into Ben's hand. Collateral, so Ben would help him stay hidden. Ben wrote one more line. Never open the clasp unless you can handle what it says. Mara turned the watch over. There was a clasp, a small latch she had never noticed. She did not open it. Not yet. She looked at the motel card. The invoice! Ben had tried to protect someone. And now that someone's father was terrified of a dead man's watch. What truth was worth dying to tell? Chapter 3. The Private Meeting. Charles Hawthorne called her the next morning. His voice was quiet. Careful. He asked if she would meet him alone. No HR, no lawyers. Just the two of them. Mara agreed, but only if she could bring the watch. They met at a diner 30 miles north. Old booths. Bad coffee. The kind of place where no one looks twice at strangers. Charles arrived in a plain jacket. No driver. He looked older than he had in his office. Mara set the watch on the table between them. Charles touched it like it might burn him. He confirmed the engraving. Julian Matthew Hawthorne, his son. Born September 10th. The date matched the engraving exactly. Mara asked what happened to Julian. Charles said the official story was a boating accident. 18 months ago. Lost at sea. Body never recovered. The foundation held a memorial. Donors sent flowers. Life moved on. But Charles whispered something else. Julian was afraid before he disappeared. He told his father someone at the foundation was moving money. Fake vendors. Shell accounts. Julian wanted to go to the authorities. Then Julian vanished. Charles showed Mara the last text Julian sent. It said, "I found proof. I am going to fix this." Mara pushed Ben's letter across the table. Charles read it. His hands shook. He whispered that Julian would never give this watch away. It was custom-made. A gift for his 21st birthday. Unless Julian knew he was not coming back. The diner door opened. A woman in a gray coat walked in. The same woman from the foundation office. Charles went pale. He had not told anyone about this meeting. The woman sat down without asking. She introduced herself as Vera Sloan, General Counsel for the Foundation. She slid a paper across the table. A return and release agreement. Mara signs. Returns the watch. agrees never to speak about it. Vera said if Mara refused, she could be charged with possession of stolen property. Mara looked at Charles. He would not meet her eyes. Vera stood to leave, but Mara saw something. Vera's hand trembled when she touched the watch. Not anger, desperation. If Vera just wanted the watch back, why did she look terrified that Mara might talk? Chapter 4. The Boatyard. Mara did not sign the agreement. She went to the boatyard listed on Ben's invoice. A working harbor south of Boston. Boats stacked on trailers. Smell of diesel and salt. The foreman remembered Ben. Good guy. Quiet. Did side jobs for cash. Mara asked about the midnight tow 18 months ago. The foreman's face changed. He said a lawyer came asking questions right after. Wanted to know who Ben took out that night. The foreman told her nothing. But he remembered the lawyer. Boston counsel. Expensive suit. She paid the marina owner to lose the logs. That lawyer was a woman. Mara drove north to Maine. The motel on the card was 2 hours up the coast. Faded paint. Gravel lot. The owner was an older man who kept paper records because he did not trust computers. He found the entry. August 9th, 18 months ago. A guest paid cash for 3 nights. Used the name Robert Kern. The owner said the young man was nervous. Very specific rules. No photos. No real names. No calls. He said someone owns my story. Mara asked if he remembered anything else. The owner said the young man left in a rush on the second night. A phone call came to the office. The young man heard it and packed immediately. He left the room key on the dresser and walked out to the road. Mara searched online. Robert Kern appeared in Hawthorne Foundation vendor records. A consulting contract. Paid $40,000 for research services. But Robert Kern had no business license. No address. No history. Someone at the foundation created the name. Paid him. Then erased him. If they invented his alias, what else did they invent about Julian's death? Chapter 5. The Night Visit. Mara started checking foundation tax filings. Public documents. The numbers were clean. Too clean. She found Vera Sloane's name on legal retainer agreements going back 30 years. Vera handled everything. Audits. Disputes. Quiet settlements. Then Mara found something strange. A donor event photo from 2 years ago. The caption listed attendees. One of them was Mara Donnelly, Mara's maiden name. She had not used it in 30 years. She never gave that name to the foundation. She applied as Mara Reed. Vera knew. That night Mara heard glass break downstairs. She grabbed her phone and hid in the closet. Footsteps. Slow. Professional. Drawers opening and closing. No rush. She called 911. By the time police arrived, the intruder was gone. The back door lock was picked clean. Mara walked through the house with an officer. Nothing obvious was missing. Television still there. Laptop untouched. Jewelry box closed. But Ben's tool tin was gone. The envelope. The invoice. The motel card. The letter. Only the watch remained. Mara had been wearing it. The officer said it looked like someone was searching for specific paperwork. He asked if she had any enemies. Mara said no, but she knew that was a lie. Whoever broke in took everything about Ben's connection to Julian. But they left the watch untouched, like they were afraid to damage it. What was inside that clasp that was worth breaking into a house but too dangerous to steal? Chapter 6. The voice memo. Mara could not go to the police. She had no evidence, just a break-in and a stolen envelope. She needed help. She found Tom Alvarez online. Retired Coast Guard investigator. 67 years old. He had worked the case when Julian's boat was found drifting. Tom agreed to meet at a coffee shop near the water. He was tall, gray beard, calm voice. He said Julian's accident file bothered him. The boat had fresh fuel, new safety gear, but the emergency beacon never activated. The life jacket was still strapped in place. Tom submitted questions to the Foundation's legal office. Vera Sloane sent back a letter. The file was sealed under a civil protective order. Family privacy. No further inquiry authorized. Tom said that was the end of it. But he kept a copy of his notes. Mara also reached out to Lena Park, 31 years old, compliance analyst at the Foundation. Lena had access to vendor files and audit trails. Lena agreed to meet after work. She was nervous but curious. She said certain payments disappeared from internal reports after Vera's office reviewed them. The Robert Kern contract was one of them. Approved. Paid. Then the backup files were lawyered away. The three of them sat in Mara's kitchen. Mara showed them the watch. Tom examined it under a lamp. He pointed to the clasp. It was old, but the hinge was newer. Professional work. Someone retrofitted it. Lena used a tiny screwdriver. The clasp opened. Inside was a micro-storage chip sealed under the metal. Tom connected it to his laptop. A single audio file, 42 seconds long. Julian's voice came through the speaker. "If you are hearing this, she finally got it. And they did not stop you. Mom, I do not need you to fix me. I just needed to know you were real. The numbers are in the second file. Vera Sloan moved everything offshore. She kept the foundation clean by making me disappear. I am sorry I could not meet you, but you deserve to know the truth." The recording ended. Mara sat frozen. "Mom?" Lena looked at the file metadata. A second file was embedded, encrypted. A list of shell companies, bank routing numbers, dates that matched foundation grants. Tom asked Mara the question she could not answer. Who is she? And why did Julian build a message for a mother he never met? Chapter 7. The Adoption Record. Lena worked overnight. She traced the encrypted file back through foundation billing records. One entry caught her attention. A legal matter coded the same way as Julian's case, but it was dated 35 years ago. The case involved an adoption, sealed by court order. Vera Sloan was listed as counsel. Tom called a friend at the Massachusetts probate court. He explained the situation. The friend said unsealing adoption records required proof of fraud or imminent harm. Tom argued both. The voice memo, the shell companies, Julian's disappearance. The friend agreed to a narrow review. The order came through in 2 days. Mara Reed, born Mara Donnelly, was the biological mother of Julian Matthew Hawthorne. Mara sat in her car outside the courthouse. She could not breathe. She gave up a baby boy when she was 19. No money, no family support. The agency promised a good home. Closed adoption. She signed papers she did not fully understand. She spent 35 years wondering. She never searched. She was too afraid. Ben knew. He must have known. That is why he protected Julian. That is why he left her the watch. Tom handed her a printout. The adoption was handled privately. The Hawthorne family paid all fees. Vera Sloan processed the paperwork. There was a confidentiality clause. If Mara ever contacted the family, she would face legal action. Lena found more. The shell companies moved $6 million over 15 years. Julian discovered the trail 6 months before he disappeared. He confronted Vera. She told him it was for donor privacy. But Julian kept digging. He found his own adoption file in Vera's locked cabinet. He learned who his birth mother was. Then he tried to find her. The voice memo continued in the second file. Julian explained he hired a private investigator, found Mara's address, her married name. He wanted to meet her before going to authorities. He gave Ben the watch because Ben worked at the marina near Mara's town. Ben was supposed to deliver it to her, a way to start a conversation. But Vera found out. She rerouted Julian's boat, made it look like an accident, sealed the records. Tom asked the hard question. If Julian was coming to meet his mother, who made sure he never arrived? Mara knew the answer. Vera Sloan was protecting someone. Maybe herself. Maybe Charles. Maybe the foundation donors who could not afford a scandal. But Julian died because he wanted to know his mother. And now Mara had the proof. Chapter 8. The Confrontation. Tom contacted the Massachusetts Attorney General's Charities Bureau. He sent the voice memo, the financial files, Julian's adoption record. The AG's office moved fast. They issued an emergency records hold. No foundation documents could be moved or destroyed. Vera did not know about the hold. Lena watched from inside the building. Vera ordered staff to move boxes to an off-site storage unit. She said it was routine archive transfer. Tom tracked the moving truck. It stopped at a marine safety contractor warehouse south of the city. the same company that disposed of Julian's boat wreckage. Investigators arrived 30 minutes later. Vera was in the warehouse burning papers in a metal drum. Financial ledgers, donor correspondence, copies of the sealed adoption file. An agent asked what she was doing. Vera said she was protecting jobs, protecting donors, protecting the city from economic collapse. The foundation employed 200 people. It funded schools and clinics. If the public learned about the money trail, donors would flee. Programs would close. She said Julian did not understand. He thought he was fixing corruption, but he was about to destroy everything his family built. The agent asked about the boat. Vera went quiet. The agent said they had Julian's voice memo, the call records, the rerouted navigation beacon. Vera's lawyer arrived and told her to stop talking, but Vera looked past him. She looked straight at Mara standing outside the warehouse door. Vera said your son did not die for money. He died for a name. The agents arrested Vera for obstruction, evidence tampering, financial fraud indicators. But Mara did not feel relief. She felt cold. Whose name needed protecting so badly it cost Julian his life? Chapter 9. The Truth. Charles Hawthorne called Mara the next morning. He asked to meet at his home. No lawyers this time. His house was old. Brick and ivy. Quiet street. He looked like he had not slept. Charles said he needed to tell her everything. When Julian disappeared, Charles received a call from Vera. She said Julian's boat had engine failure. He drifted into a storm. Coast Guard searched for 3 days. Nothing. Vera advised Charles to sign confidentiality agreements with the marina, with the investigators, with the media. She said it would stop tabloids from invading their grief. Charles signed. He thought he was protecting his family. But the agreements froze evidence access. The Coast Guard could not reopen inquiries. Journalists could not ask questions. The case was sealed. Charles did not know Julian had been trying to reach Mara. He did not know about the voice memo. He did not know Vera was hiding financial crimes. He just knew his son was gone. The state reopened the investigation. They found signs of sabotage. The boat's safety equipment had been tampered with. The emergency beacon was manually disabled. A reroute call came from a Foundation legal line the night Julian disappeared. Charles broke down. He said he helped bury his own son by signing papers he did not read. Mara asked why Vera did it. Charles explained. Vera had been with the family for 40 years. She handled his father's estate, his mother's medical bills, every legal problem. She was family. But Vera also controlled the Foundation's offshore accounts. She moved donor money to cover the family's private debts. Properties, travel, reputation management. When Julian found the trail, he threatened everything, not just Vera. The Hawthorne name. Vera made a choice. Protect the family legacy. Silence the son. Charles looked at Mara with empty eyes. He said Julian was coming to meet you. Vera knew. She called Ben and told him there was a legal order. Ben had to redirect Julian to a different marina, into the storm. Ben did not know it was a trap. Mara felt her chest tighten. Ben spent his last year carrying that guilt. He left her the watch because he could not save Julian. But he could give her the truth. Charles stepped down from the Foundation the next day. He released a public statement. Donors fled. Staff resigned. The town divided. Some people said Mara was lying. Some said she was brave. Mara did not care. She just wanted to know her son. But he was already gone. The Chapter 10 found. Vera Sloan was sentenced to 12 years. Fraud, obstruction, evidence tampering. She never admitted to Julian's death. But the state had enough to prove she orchestrated it. The Hawthorne Foundation was rebuilt. Independent oversight, public financial reports, a compliance board that Lena helped lead. Charles funded new programs. Adoption search support, coastal safety equipment grants, grief counseling services, no naming rights, no press releases, just quiet work. He visited Mara once a month. They did not talk much. He brought photos of Julian as a child. Mara shared stories about Ben. They were two people mourning the same son from different sides of a closed adoption. One afternoon, a letter arrived. It was addressed to a post office box Mara never knew existed. The postmark was 18 months old. It had been held at a sorting facility because of an incomplete address. Julian's handwriting. The letter said, "I do not need you to fix me. I just needed to know you were real. I know you gave me up to save me. I do not blame you. I spent 35 years wondering if you ever thought about me. Now I know you did. That is enough." Mara read it 7 times. She took the watch to a jeweler, had the band replaced, asked for a new engraving on the back. Found not claimed. She wore it every day. On the anniversary of Julian's disappearance, Mara went to the harbor, the same dock where Ben used to work. She stood at the edge and looked at the water. She whispered the words she never got to say. "My son." The wind carried them out over the waves. Charles stood beside her. He did not speak. He just nodded. 2 people who loved Julian. 2 people who failed him. 2 people trying to build something from what was left. Mara turned to walk back to the parking lot. She saw a young woman standing near the memorial bench. The woman looked nervous. She held a folder. She said her name was Sarah. She worked for an adoption search nonprofit. She had a message from another birth mother looking for her child. Mara took the folder. Maybe truth could not undo the loss, but it could still build a family from the pieces. She looked at the watch. Found not claimed. Not perfect, but real.